Hi everybody, I'm Tony Wakefield, Training Director for the Informa Telecoms Academy, and I'm here today with Dave McNally. Dave oversees an awful lot of our LTE and advanced communication training. So Dave, we're here to talk about VoLTE, Voice over LTE. Just in a nutshell, can you just describe what it is and why it's different from perhaps some of the systems that we've seen previously?
Well, I suppose in a nutshell, it's voice over IP. That's what it is. I think that reflects the trend in core network evolution as well, because moving from obviously from 2G to 3G, we were still kind of hanging on to the circuit switching voice, but when you move through to like a full LTE network, then the core network is all IP there, so there's no facility really for doing circuit switching. So it's voice over IP. That's really what it is.
Okay, so the old circuits that a lot of engineers have sort of grown up with and they've spent their life maintaining, learning about deploying. Are we saying that circuits aren't available in LTE, therefore we've got to move to VoLTE, or is there some sort of alternative?
No, that's pretty much it. Because end to end now, so from the mobile device all the way through the front end of the network, the access, the core, and to the B party, as we might have traditionally said. The whole thing is IP, so this idea of circuits really just goes away. What it does mean, though, is that we've got to have some sort of other path control, route control for actually connecting phones together. But that's something that's handled by the back end of the network, really.
Okay, but there's quite a lot of operators out there that are still sort of working circuits, something called circuit switch fallback. How does that fit into the equation?
It's a bit of an interim solution, really, because not all operators are fully ready for it. They may well have an LTE network, so they can do the IP data side of things. So if you have an LTE device and you want to make a phone call with it, because the operator probably isn't in a position yet to offer full voice over LTE, then we use this thing called circuit switching fallback, which is kind of exactly how it sounds. When you press the go button on a telephone call, then the phone basically reconnects to the circuit switching network, and you make a call pretty much as we always have done for the last couple of decades or so.
So when you say the circuit switch network, that's not LTE then, it falls back to what, 3G, GSM?
Well, either whatever's available, really. Preferably 3G, I suppose. It may be a quality, capacity, or even just an availability formula that the network will use. I mean, the name circuit switching fallback sounds. I'm not a big fan of the term fallback. It sounds a little bit random. A much better way of describing it really would be circuit switching redirection, because that's kind of what it does. In fact, the LTE device will communicate with the LTE network when a call is being placed, and then the LTE network will effectively redirect the phone to a suitable circuit switching access network.
Okay, and pretty much with most of these technologies, if something supports LTE, i.e. you have an LTE phone, it's not just an LTE phone, is it? It will also therefore support 3G and 2G technologies.
Yeah, well, I think pretty much all the devices out there are going to be 2G, 3G, and LTE. Maybe the only exception would be sort of LTE MiFi or USB dongle type devices. They perhaps wouldn't support the circuit switching and the 2G, 3G.
Okay, and just looking at deployment for VoLTE, not every operator has actually deployed VoLTE yet, and it's sort of been deployed in a fairly piecemeal way. Are there specific challenges to deploying VoLTE, or is it fairly straightforward?
Um, I think the deployment is beginning to pick up. I think at the beginning of this year there was about 40 VoLTE deployments, 28 different countries. But there's well over 100 operators looking at deploying probably in the near future. Maybe by the end of this year. But there are significant deployment issues that they need to deal with. Obviously, they need the back end of the network. They need the IMS. Of course, they have to have an LTE system in there. But I think the biggest deployment hurdle is around the users and the mobile devices, because if you have an LTE device in your pocket right now, can't guarantee that thing is actually going to support voice over LTE. So the user device has to support LTE. Of course, the network has to have the IMS back end to support that. And then there's a lot of sort of, I would say, interworking compatibility issues that need to be worked through as well, in order to make sure that the calls can be, at least as good as the existing circuit switching, if not perhaps a little bit better. So yeah, there's significant hurdles in deploying LTE.
Okay, and in terms of the user experience, is it the equivalent of an old style telephone call, or are there additional features?
At the very least, it should be like the old system, in that you can make and receive phone calls at a particular quality. But I think if operators are going to make a success of it, excuse me, then really what they have to do is they have to make it better in some way. Now, it might be making it sound better. There are wideband codecs that could be used to make it sound better. But I think for the business case to be successful, the basic voice service has to be augmented by the operators, perhaps in a way that we're already familiar with, by using Skype on the desktop, Skype on your mobile phone, even things like the messaging apps like WhatsApp and so on. I mean, they already give us like I don't know what you call it, an enhanced or an enriched messaging and voice service. So I mean, VoLTE has the capability to do that. There are standards and recommendations that allow us to do that. So really, the operators have got to take what would be perceived by the user as being a basic voice service, and make it look and feel a little bit clever. In fact, make it look and feel a bit like perhaps Skype or WhatsApp and those other types of third-party clients that are out there.
Okay, so if Skype and WhatsApp are available, why should operators bother to deploy VoLTE?
Pretty good question, that. I think because voice has always been central to really the operator's business case, and maybe over the last few years or so that's changing a bit because there's been a much bigger emphasis on things like data. But I think voice is still going to be a core for a lot of mobile operators. Maybe the one thing that VoLTE's got going for it that the others can't speak of is compatibility. I mean, global, worldwide compatibility, just in the way that a GSM or a UMTS phone can phone any one of the other 7 billion devices, or send a text message to any one of those other mobile phones. If you're using Skype and I'm using WhatsApp, then of course we can't phone each other, we can't message each other. But because VoLTE is a sort of centralized, globally agreed standard, then a big advantage to operators moving towards this, proper standard is really, compatibility.
Okay, so compatibility, ease of use, so long as you've got the right software on the handset, I guess that's key. Mm-hmm. And just thinking about that, this is voice over IP as a system. Obviously, it's voice over a specific IP network, i.e. LTE. But voice over IP for some operators or some people in the industry has traditionally perhaps meant free. That's the way we sort of traditionally saw voice over IP, or it's perhaps not free, but no incremental cost. So in terms of the operator and the business model, does VoLTE actually stand up? Is the value that they can extract from deploying VoLTE?
Yeah, I mean that's probably the $1 million question for most operators. Can we make money out of it? It's certainly a lot more efficient. I think that's probably the focus the operator should give to it. Because it's an IP-based voice system. The existing transmission facilities capacity in the network can be used much more efficiently using a service like that. So, I mean, voice over IP it's always been argued that it's more efficient than circuit switching voice. We can use that same argument in mobile networks. I mean, maybe the other advantage that might make the business case stand up, and again, it's not really about making money; it's about saving money, not spending as much money, is that once you've got a fully deployed IMS-based VoLTE system with 100% of your subscribers all using the right kind of mobile phones, then all of the legacy stuff, the old circuit switching, GSM, UMTS, all of that can begin to be decommissioned, and that will, I think, represent quite a significant cost saving for the operators.
Okay, and I guess as we're moving towards a converged world and operators provide bundles of services, then that efficiency and how cost-effective delivery of the different service aspects are, that becomes critical, I guess, doesn't it? Okay, yeah. Dave, any last thoughts?
Maybe just one. I think as well, for the operators to make the business case stand up, they've got to think a lot wider than just the mobile phone. Again, we're familiar with things like Skype and WhatsApp and so on, really being available on multiple platforms. So even though VoLTE it's sort of designed for mobile networks, mobile platforms, I think operators have to see that whole. They need to see the whole thing. So thinking about smart TVs, set-top boxes, computers and so on. So I can make and receive calls and messages on any device wherever I need to be. So I think that's one of the things that the operators have to think about in enhancing that business case and really engaging with the user as well, for it to be a success for them.
Okay, thanks, Dave. I think we'll leave it there. Thanks very much, and to everybody out there, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yeah. See you later. Bye.